Hey guys, I hope everyone is awesome and doing great. One of you sent me a private message into the page to, for with one question that they needed clarification on. So the way they, you know, put the question is they just wanted to understand the basic simplification or solving for x in an algebraic equation. Sorry. I made a short video just to explain, but I'll try and dig as much deep as possible, but also just to focus on the question that I'm dealing with. Okay, there's a lot of things that obviously we need to know with algebraic equations, but I'll focus on those things that you might need to know regarding this question. Okay, so let's dig into it. So, my maths teacher really shared this very idea that made it so much easier for me to understand it, to understand algebraic equations and how to solve them. But before we go there, remember there's different types of algebraic equations. In this case, we're focusing on linear. Why? Because it's just x and x. There's no x squared, x cubed, there's no x to the power 4. It's just x, right? So it's a linear type of quadratic equation. Okay, so my maths teacher used to say you can't add banana plus an apple, sorry, and then get any different answer. It will always be a banana plus an apple. And that's as simple as that. It'll always be a banana and an apple. So in this case, if you've got y plus x, it will always be y plus x. It will never be anything else, right? But if you've got a banana plus another banana, so you get two bananas. So in this case, y plus y equals 2y. So basically, that's what you need to understand with, um, algebraic. Very important, very basic. This is what we call in maths like terms. You need to understand what it means to add like terms and unlike terms. Okay, so cool. So let's go now into this equation. So in this equation, we've got two types of like terms. Two types of terms, unlike and like terms. So here, 35 and 12x, they are not like terms. You can never add those two, right? But you can multiply them, but you can't add or subtract. You can divide, you can add, you can do whatever, but you can't. You can divide and multiply, but you can't add and subtract those two. They are not like terms. So it means you are basically adding a banana and an apple. Basically, that's what you would be doing if you were adding. Okay, so now let's solve our question. So part of their question, they said they want to understand how to simplify when there's brackets. Brackets are very important. You go back to BODMAS, is it starts with brackets. So brackets, you start there. So where I would start with this. I'll write the 35 plus 56. Then I'll solve whatever is inside the bracket first before I go anywhere else. Put the brackets there. So now let's add 12 bananas, subtract 86 bananas, and then add 68 bananas. So the final answer, it will be minus 6x. So just don't forget the minus 6x. In the x there, it always has to be there because you're dealing with x. So I'm using banana as an apple so that you get an idea of what we're talking about. They are like terms because they all share the x and x and x. Okay, so now let's solve the bracket. So with the bracket there, what you need to understand is you've got a multiplication there. So it's basically a 56. I said earlier you can multiply unlike terms, but you can't add or subtract them. You can multiply and divide, but you can't add and subtract. Okay, so let's multiply 56 times minus 6. Our answer will be 3 minus 336 x. Remember that x is there. So basically here what we're doing is we've got the 56 multiplying it with the minus 6 and then multiplying it again with the x. So you multiply all three, your final answer becomes that. That's why we have that as our final answer. Okay, so that you just get a bit of a context in terms of where we got that minus 336 x. When you multiply 56 and 6, you get 336. Okay, so now what we need to do is, with solving for x, you always have to remember you have to be left with one x on one side, and everything else has to go to the other side of the equation. So basically that's our goal, is we moving everything else that is on the side of x and we're taking it that side. But to move those things, we basically have rules. You don't just take it and take it that side. And then, so in this case, we've got a plus 35. So we'll just move it to the other side. Why? Because it's subtracting that. So it's easy to move it. So then we have minus 336 x equals 5, 5674. And then after that, you have the minus 35. Why? Because when the 35 goes to the other side, it becomes a negative. So if it was a negative 35, when it goes to the other side of the equation, it can be on the left hand side or right hand side. If you move it to the other side, it will always change the sign and become the opposite sign. That's basically why we have that. Okay, so then when we subtract, we have minus 33 6 equals, then you have 5639. And then now, how do we take that? Remember, this is the same as 336 times x. So that is our key thing. So now to remove this from this side, you have to divide both sides with 33. With that, I mean minus 336, so that it moves to the other side. Why are we dividing? Because it's multiplying. If it was multiplying, then we'll divide. If it was dividing, then we'll multiply. So basically, your x, your multiplication goes with your division, right? And then your addition goes with your negative. That's why in this case, what we had is, we had, when it went to the other side, it was subtracting or minusing. Basically, you do the opposite. Okay, so now we have x, because these two cancel out. Then our final answer, when you punch that into the calculator, 336 is short there, you will have minus 16.78 as your final answer. So that's basically your answer. Solving that, remember there's rules. Okay, there's rules for moving things to the other side. If it's dividing, when it goes to the other side, you multiply it. For example, if I had x over 2 equals to 4, let me just write it here so that you understand. So if I had x over 2 is equals to 4, to move that 2 to the other side to solve for x, remember, because it's dividing, I have to multiply both sides. So I'll multiply both sides with the 2. Why? So that the 2 cancels the 2. Then I'm left with x. But what I do this side on the left hand side, I have to do on the right hand side. So then your answer will be 8. Basically, so that's the basic understanding or basic rule behind the whole, moving to the other side, taking to the other side, dividing, adding, and all those kind of things. So yeah, I hope that brings clarity.